Welcome once again to CopBLUE's I've Got Your Six. If you like our channel, make sure to subscribe to it. Be sure to like it, and if you have a comment, we welcome to hear it. Today we have James Hudson with us here, who is a candidate for sheriff in Darlington County, South Carolina. But before we start, as always, we're going to start with the Marcus Aurelius quote. Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. So you just never know what's coming. The best thing you can do is practice and prepare. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we move through the questions that we have for James Hudson. So James Hudson, known you for, gosh, how long have we known each other? Don't say. Been a few years.
It's been a long time.
It's been longer than a week.
It's been a long time.
And one thing I can say about you is, and a number of things I can say about you, because someone asked me to describe you the other day, and I described you like this. If I had to climb into a window and I had him at my back, I'd know I was safe. And if he had to climb in the window and he had me in his back, he'd know he was safe. And that's just, hey man, what else can you say about it? I mean, that's, knowing somebody has your back, just like our show, I've Got Your Six. So, I'm dying to know. Politician is a dirty word. It's like, oh my gosh, I stepped in some politician. What's that smell? Yeah, but we all know that all politicians aren't bad. I mean, there's some good ones out there. I know a lot of good ones. I've known many. Unfortunately, it's just, the bad ones give the good ones why politics? So why politics?
Well, politics is not something that I believe in, the word politics, and I read the definition of it. I've tried to understand it, especially now in my tour. I just think that if you're a person who wants to serve the public, you should have the right reasoning behind that. Your agenda should be true, and you should be true to yourself, because your ultimate goal is to serve the people and give those people a voice who either don't have a voice or are afraid to speak out. So being a leader, that's what you're supposed to be about. And when you take the word politics and turn it into politicians, I think some people, once they decide to get into the public sector and say they want to serve in any area of elected office, I think they forget the reasoning is why they're there. My reason is to serve the people of Darlington County, any county that you might decide to run in. And just remember that you're trying to speak for those who can't speak for themselves.
I totally agree with that. That's the whole servant leadership that you hear people talking about. People will get out there and they say, I want to help, I want to help, I want to help. But when you get there, do you actually help? That's the difference between the good ones and the bad ones. I really want to help, and I'm going to do something about it. So why now? I mean, a lot of tumultuous crap going on in the world. Why did you decide now to get involved in politics? Because since I've known you, you've never been involved in politics.
Well, not in politics, but I've always been taught at an early age to give back to the community. Sure. And I've always did that. Even before I got in law enforcement, I was taught to give back. So we did that as a child, we did it as teenagers. And then getting into law enforcement, it gave me a better opportunity to do just that, give back. And I understand in today's times, when we look at the news and read social media, all the things that are going on around the world, it's just a bad tone. Right?
Sure, absolutely.
So we just have to understand that once we make a commitment to something, we need to be able to follow it through.
Stick to it, absolutely. So let's lead into this question, and maybe I should have started with this, but I didn't, because hey, it's my show. I'll do whatever way I want to. So that's a good thing. Hey, I'm in charge.
Right.
So let me just ask you this real quick. Tell us a little bit about your law enforcement history and background, if you can.
Well, started law enforcement in 1995, which is a long time ago, and started working at the jail. I was a jailer. Actually, that's where I met you. I was working at the jail. You was already with Dalton PD.
Oh yeah.
And did that for a year. Sheriff Campbell saw something in me and decided to bring me on the law enforcement side, and been in it ever since. And did a little bit of everything: investigation, patrol commander, chief deputy, chief of police, supervised the drug team at one point. So I enjoyed it. I think the things that I've done, prepared me for the next level. So, you know, working hard is something I'm not afraid of.
Good work ethic. Can't deny that's a great thing.
Yeah,
for
so,
sure.
You know, I've had a great career, but I've had, just like yourself, I've had good people to support me.
Oh, absolutely.
You gotta have people to push you along, to tell you when you're making those mistakes, to let you see that you shouldn't be doing this, but you should be doing that.
Absolutely.
So, you know, get my 4-year degree and being able to obtain other certificates in law enforcement, graduate from chief school and all that good stuff. You know, we did a lot of good things. So I would encourage anybody, if you want your career in law enforcement to be good, just find somebody who's going to give you the right information, right?
Absolutely.
Steer you in the right direction. But when I became an investigator, that really opened my eyes to a lot of things on how, what to do and what not to do.
Absolutely. And I just want to echo on a couple of things that you said. First of all, we mentioned Sheriff Glenn Campbell. If there's a finer sheriff out there, I don't know. Glenn Campbell taught me so much when I worked for him as a drug agent with the Darlington County Combined Drug Unit. Such a good guy and so genuine. And I can't say enough good things about Glenn Campbell. I mean, he to me is the epitome of what I think a really good sheriff in a part of the southern United States that you'd run into. Just somebody that's just like, I mean, gosh, he just looks like your granddad or something. You know, I don't know his age, but Glenn is just such a great guy. In addition to the fact, I wanted to say that, you know, as he mentioned before, working in the jail, working on the street, investigations, so on and so forth, the criminal justice wheel, which involves the defense, the prosecution, the jail, the judiciary branch, so on and so forth, all of those things have to work together for that wheel to roll down the road. And if a spoke is broken out of it, well, the merry-go-round breaks down and things just don't work. So unfortunately, TV especially has kind of popularized the whole it's us against them. Oh, trust me, it's not us against them. We're all working together to make sure that things get done. Because when any part of that system breaks down, everyone suffers. The victims, the suspects, the police, the judges, so on and so forth, because it just makes the situation untenable. So let me...
And I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
Because that's one of the things that I think as the law enforcement community needs to try to reach out to the civilian community. And we need to begin to work together because I think the numbers will just be alarming of the number of people in our society just don't understand how our system works.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. They're fed something. Oh, I saw it on TV or I read it on Facebook. It must be true. It's not.
There's a process to everything that we do. So I think that one of the things that needs to be done is for our citizens to learn our judicial system, to learn how it works, so that they be more educated on some things. And I think that would help some people not get involved in certain type of crimes and keep them out of trouble. But as you said it earlier, I think when you watch TV, you know, there's no hour and a commercial break to solve a crime.
Oh, no. And you don't get DNA back in 10 minutes.
No, it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. So let me ask you this question really quickly, and this is one we haven't discussed, so I just want to throw it out here. As with all of the stuff that's going on right now, the first and budget cuts are a big thing. You know, nobody wants to pay more taxes. We all want to pay less taxes. But the thing is that people don't realize that cuts have to come from somewhere. And in law enforcement, the first thing that's generally going to hit the cutting room floor, for lack of a better way of putting it, is training. And that's what they do. You know, agencies don't want to pay more hours for overtime. They don't want to pay for classes. They don't want to pay for ammunition for shoot, don't shoot. They don't. That because they need to keep troops in the field answering calls for service. How do you deal with that?
Well, you have to have relationships with those who are empowered to controls or make those decisions about those particular things you just mentioned. Because training, as you well know, is very essential to our profession. And if we don't get it as we need it, then I think that's when you start seeing some of the things happen around the country.
Exactly. The better you train, the better you play.
Right. So, you know, if your mindset is to serve and being able to turn it off when it needs to be turned off and on, I think you're fine. But when you're not getting that proper training as often as you need, I think that's when you start to make mistakes.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this right now. There's a saying in the Marine Corps, and that's this right here: the more you sweat in training, the less you bleed on the battlefield. And that's a fact. The more you train, the better you are at your job, the better opportunity you have to come out unscathed.
Well, I'm a firm believer that I'm a firm believer. I'm big in training. I mean, I just think that's essential to what we do. Not only do we have to drive to and from places to train, you can do in-service training as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's very important. And most of your in-service training is basically on making sure that your guys are up on policies. They're aware of the current events going on around the country, so that it's here in their minds of what's going on.
Exactly.
So when things are in your mind, you're less likely to make mistakes.
I agree 100%. But at the same time, and I'm going to kind of make this a statement, and certainly feel free to comment on it. Officers shouldn't be worried about doing their job. Shouldn't be worried about, if I make this arrest of this person who's doing something wrong, whether or not I'm going to get in trouble for it politically. If they're doing something wrong, they need to get arrested. Now, of course, not everybody needs to go to jail. Not everybody needs a ticket. The ones that need to go, they just need to go. And there shouldn't be that thought in the back of their brain, oh my gosh, what political entity am I going to upset because I put this person in jail because they're kin to somebody or something like that. And I think you'd agree with that 100%.
Well, sure, and unfortunately, we have to deal with that.
Oh, absolutely.
Law enforcement officers, but we also have to make those responsible who needs to be responsible. And if we have leaders in our community that thinks that way, they need to understand when a crime is committed and it's there in front of you.
Yes, sir.
And you have been sworn in and took an oath, you must act on it.
I agree 100%.
So you can't get mad with the officer for doing his job.
I agree. I have been accused of doing it too well a few times. I think that's probably happened.
I think we've all have been questioning about why do we do this and why do we do that. And you try to understand the situation, but at the same time, you have to understand that if you don't do your job, then that will cause you problems and the agency problems.
Absolutely.
And they have this thing what they call indictment. Yet you and I can get.
Oh yeah.
We can get indicted for not doing our job.
Absolutely. So, as a prospective politician, what are your views on officers being used as political pawns? I know you've experienced that personally. I know you've seen the results of that happening over time. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, again, I think those who are in certain positions of leadership should respect the profession, law enforcement profession, and should respect what we are here to do, which is serve and protect.
Exactly.
And I would say don't put us in a position to where we have to come out and defend ourselves on why we did our jobs. I think that politicians should support us in our efforts to make our communities safer, and should back us up until they can't do it anymore.
I agree with you 100%. And I've said this before on past shows, and I'll say it again. I think that if you use human suffering as a vehicle to get votes, then I think that there's something wrong with you. Shame on you, that's what I think. So let's move to the next one. Because we could talk about that for like 3 hours. And I know we both
That's a big subject.
Yeah, we get animated about it. You know what I mean? Because, neither one of us, I think, and any good leader who's out there that truly believes in servant leadership and truly believes in the job that they have leading their folks does not want them to be mistreated.
That's right.
And I think we can agree 100% on that. So what's the most important thing you can do as a prospective leader of deputies who work for you? What's the most important thing you can do for them?
Earn their trust.
Earn their trust?
Earn their trust. Because those officers that are working for you, whether you're chief or sheriff, they want to know that they can trust you. They want to know that you have their best interests at heart, which means you're going to go out and do your job as a leader.
Sure.
To keep them employed, because they have families they got.
Absolutely.
So earning their trust and then you trusting them, I think goes a long way. And I think that's just what most officers want to know. We got a leader that we can trust.
Exactly. I've got your 6. Exactly. And nothing to do with this blue veil of secrecy that I'm going to protect somebody who's doing something wrong. None of that. The whole fact of the matter is, you're doing the right thing. I've got your back. I agree with that 1,000%. So, what do you think that we can do as leaders for deputies who've been involved in traumatic events? It could be like an infant fatality. It could be an officer-involved shooting. It could be a particularly bad wreck where they witnessed a death. What do you think we can do for them to help them to kind of be okay, for lack of a better way of putting it?
There's programs out there that if an officer is involved in a traumatic incident or was just a part of it, there's programs where he can go in and seek help, counseling, and even get a leave of absence to make sure that he mentally is prepared to continue doing his job. I know working in Lee County Sheriff Office, we had I'm sure you remember the incident we had at the prison.
Yes.
So we all had to go to Columbia and go through that program.
Right.
So having those programs available for officers to go to and make sure that they're mentally sound to continue doing this job. And I think that if we have an officer that is involved in a traumatic situation, that he or she should be completing that program first before they return back to work and still get paid.
I agree.
Because it was a job in progress. So I think that's one of the things I would love to see, that if we're involved in something, an officer involved in something, that he or she would go through that program and make sure that they are prepared to come back to work.
Sure. And the thing is what most officers don't understand and can't accept is that it's okay to be not okay. It's okay to be not okay.
I mean, we're humans first.
Exactly.
So when things happen, it does have an effect on you, and you do have to deal with it. And, I know the stuff I saw that night throughout my career. You have to talk to somebody about it, because you keep seeing this stuff over and over and over, and it does have an effect.
Oh, it has a cumulative effect, and what happens is just like with most other people in stress, they turn to sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's what happens. I mean, everybody has their, the thing that they use to deal with their stress that kind of helps alleviate it, and more often than not, it leads to more problems. So the last question I have for you is this one right here, and that's, there's a large number of church groups within your county. Of course, in the South, we have a lot of churches. I mean, there's nowhere in the South you can't go and throw a rock and not hit a church in any direction, and that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But how do you think you could use those large gatherings of people like that to make things better?
Well, years ago, the religious base was just it. It was the base of the community.
Right.
And now you have so many different religions and churches that have branched off into different communities. And I think that we have to tap in to those leaders in the religious base, and again, educate them on what our system is and how we are mandated now to do our job, so they will understand how much we need their assistance.
Sure.
And I think once they understand that we need them, then they will begin to participate more. I think most ministers, I think they are very reluctant to participate in our profession and get involved because they don't understand.
I agree. As a matter of fact, I recall a meeting I think me and you went to one time where one of the preachers that was talking, I think there was 9 of them there. I think it was nine of them and me and you.
Right.
And one of the preachers was talking about how we needed to kind of work with them as far as a religious sense. And I told him, I said, Padre, you leave the safety of the streets to me, and I'll leave the soul saving to you.
That's what you told me.
And I stand beside it. I stand behind it. Of course, I'm retired now, but I stand behind that still. I have no problem with helping people to get to where they need to be as far as churches are concerned, because there's such a great organizations that are out there that provide all kinds of help to individuals, and they can do stuff that we can't do. And I think making connections and opening those doors, like you're saying, would be just a tremendous help to not only this community, but communities throughout the entire United States.
It's all about building bridges. Instead of tearing them down, you building bridges and working with those who want to work with you. And you know, my dad said, sometimes you're gonna be by yourself until others see that you mean well. And that's a very true statement. When people begin to see that you're working hard to help, to change things, to make things better, then you'll see them start wanting to help.
Exactly.
And I think that's where we are, and that's what we got to continue to do is still build those bridges, hold those walls, making sure that people will still come and want to be a part of what's going on. Because we're living in a time now in our society where it's a very difficult time for everybody, and it's causing a lot of anxiety amongst a lot of people, a lot of different communities. And I think that if we participate and listen to others, to what they have to say, you may not always agree with them, just listen to them. Because a lot of times, if you know you're working in this profession a long time, most people just want to be heard.
Exactly. I agree with that 100%. Some people just want to hear. You know, you might not be able to help. They want to be able to tell the story to someone. Yeah.
They just want to be heard. And when they get through talking, it might be 30 minutes to an hour, but when they get through it, they feel a whole lot better.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but one thing you'll go and tell somebody is that officer stood there the whole time listening to what I had to say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming and being a part of I've Got Your Six from CopBLue.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you bet. And we appreciate you doing what you do, strapping a gun and a badge on every day, going out there and protecting the public. Reach out to us at our CopBLue magazine or on our YouTube channel or even our Facebook page. But thank you, and we'll see you again next time with CopBLue. And remember, the best thing you can do every day is hit that clock and go home safe. Thanks. Okay.